I haven't given the number out yet, and I got all these guests coming up. I wanted to take calls. It's just that the quickening in my soul, the quickening in my heart is so incredible. I couldn't go to sleep last night. I was up till 2 in the morning. I jumped out of bed at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm just, it's all coming down. I mean, you can feel it, you can see it, you know it, and the judgment of our world it happens all the time. 20% to 30%, depending on which estimate you look at, it's in between 20 to 30% of the Cambodians were killed. U.S. government funded. Khmer Rouge was funded by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He brags about it. 22 million Germans died, separate from war. 22 million Germans died. That was what following Hitler did for them. You were going to say something, Chris? Well, yeah. Well, I mean, actually, the one I sent you was one where they haven't erased it yet. But then I meant, yeah, there's a bunch. Like if you do the voice of Optimus Prime or the man that does Optimus Prime, you'll see the videos on YouTube. You'll see a bunch of them. When you try to play them, it has a notice and it says this voice, this voice is the property. And it's even him at comic book conferences doing the voice, and the computer recognizes it, and it's not allowed to be out because they own his voice. And I mean, my point is that that's how they can shut down and just with this new web system, and then they admit with all these filters, they can shut down discussions, they can shut down whole voices. This is how they're going to come at people. So you better keep hard copies of everything I've talked about. You better keep your old technology. You better invest in good old-fashioned printing machines, whatever, because I'm telling you. Well, I mean, Kindle is on record. We had Dr. Stallman on saying, no, they're building Trojan horses into everything, where they hit one button and thousands of Kindle books are erased, even ones you paid for. I mean, think about it. Yeah, you can use all this as a double-edged sword to get the word out, but the system isn't going to let that happen. These people kill folks for oil and money and power. They're ruthless, and only by realizing you can't reason with the New World Order, you can't have debates and discussions with them. They are crazy. And I need professors to do research on this. I actually did some searching and did actually find some papers that mention it going back more than 100 years. So it has been recognized. But why is there psychopathic tendency and mental illness tendencies in royalty and wealthy elites that tend to act like royalty and intermarry? Because genetically they're ruthless and don't have a normal conscience. And so they do rise to the top because they're like cancer in a body. They're malfunctioning. They're not full humans. They're actually subhuman. The people like Hitler was a subhuman. But you can be a subhuman black person, white person, Jewish person, Arab person. There's good people, there's bad people. But literally they're not fully human. They don't have the conscience. And it is genetic. It's that bloodline's mean. Hey, I'm getting rid of these bulls. They keep attacking people. I'm going to get a breed of bull that aren't as vicious. I mean, it's simple. And they've been intermarrying, but more than that, the syphilis, the mercury, the lead, the arsenic that the alchemist and people would always give the elites, so DNA mutation. Turns out that the priest class was always feeding the royalty and even the higher priest class poisonous metals. The reason the global system is so psycho and crazy, even worse than the average psycho on the street, is that it is an inbred system and a culture that grew of people literally with microscopic worms eating their brains. That's what syphilis basically is. They're microscopic worms, microbes, and they're just beyond insane. Just like the prince, the member of the royal house was Jack the Ripper out killing people. That's been confirmed now. I mean, he had syphilis. I mean, his brain was being eaten, and he was on arsenic to treat it, which makes you even crazier. So we have an elite who set up eugenics when most of them had syphilis. That's why all the mafia ended up living in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It was the top syphilis treatment center, so the Rockefellers were all down there, too. I mean, they didn't, in the 30s and 40s, they were still completely psycho. Our whole world is governed by syphilitic crazies. The Babylon system is a vampire. For all intents and purposes, the New World Order might as well be space aliens. It might as well be vampires. They might as well be the devil. Because I can't imagine a science fiction movie where you have a global elite who are so crazy they've got 9 out of 10 nuclear reactors leaking radiation. Just type that into a search engine. That's mainstream news. They're raising isotope levels, thousands of percentages, saying they're all safe. They've got troops using weapons that soft kill them. They're shooting everybody up with deadly vaccines, starting all these wars, creating GMO cross-species creatures everywhere that are infecting the entire biosphere while lecturing us all day about giving up our rights for the environment. And then I find the poetry of the nihilistic transhumanist, top globalist. I have it in my film Endgame. And they say, yes, to keep on willing, we the elite might blow the planet up just to be number one. Why, it'd be the greatest thing in history to blow the planet up and kill everyone. That would just end us. I would be the greatest ever. And then I found out that Lenin wrote stuff like that. And then here are transhumanists today writing stuff like that. I mean, it's a spirit, folks. It's death. It's cancer. And it thinks, well, I can just take over, so I'm the boss. Yeah, you can take over and screw everything up. I mean, anybody listening to this show could go home today and shoot their neighbors for no reason. Does that mean you got the power? A cop driving along could pull a family over and shoot them all in the head. Does that mean he's real powerful? No, it means you got a problem. It means you're screwed up. Oh, so you can take thousands of species and cross them with each other and release salmon that they admit will extinct all the regular salmon that are part insect into the ocean. I mean, bioweapons treaties aren't even followed, and these companies are all just infecting everything. And then when they infect you, they come and sue you, saying you stole their patent. And again, it's the boldness of these globalists. The people go, well, they're bold. Oh, so you came and trespassed on my farm, pulled up my corn that's natural and either to the natural seeds. But plants don't just have one daddy and one mommy. You know, it can be 100 mommies and daddies. It's the pollen that mixes in. So you found less than 1% Monsanto genetics in my corn in a laboratory that you obviously infected my crop with. And now you got a court saying you're going to fine me $10,000 an acre, saying my entire crop was stolen from you. They're like, yep. So you're going to infect me. Like if you went to somebody's house and poured motor oil all over their carpet and then gave them a ticket and said, you owe me money because you trespassed. And you're like, you're in my house pouring motor oil on the white carpet. And they're like, doesn't matter. The court's going to rule for me. All right, I know all I talk about is GMO now because I'm really getting, that's why they're so smug. That's why it's so funny to them. And I'm done. At 8 after, we're going to get Greg Palast on, and I'll just tell you, as long as your questions are for him about world events or whatever they are, we'll go to your calls. And since I'm getting Bob Chapman on today, I'll have calls for Bob Chapman as well. What happened with Kurt Haskell? I heard Chris get him on the phone. Is he going to pop in too about the underwear bomber stuff? Well, if he needs to do it at 12:30, we'll do it then too, or we can do it in the end of Bob's interview. Because he got up there in his statement as a victim and said this is an inside job. So we'll talk to him. Of course, you know, he's an eyewitness confirming the U.S. government got him on the plane. It turned out it's true, but that shouldn't be investigated either, you know. Well, we got a lot of news. Arizona's considering a bill to finance the vehicles and communications equipment for volunteer militia to patrol the border. The border is a complete lawless war zone with the feds ordering the Border Patrol basically to stand down on record. Border Patrol have gone public on that. Of course, the government shipping guns to Mexico. And the media, the traitor, New World Order occupational brainwasher media, I'm not just saying that. I mean, this is a foreign, globalist, banker, whore media there to destroy this country. Here to bring in world government, here to destroy our sovereignty. They're like, oh my gosh, a militia. That's what civil defense is. And the feds do actually have jurisdiction right on the border. They're supposed to be there. It's one of the few things they're supposed to do. But since they won't let them do their job, the state can also put people right up next to the border and simply get local police to take care of it and fund the sheriffs to have basically a posse because the illegals are burning down houses, raping, killing people. I mean, I got piles of news here today I'm looking at. at Infowars.com, just on that front. It is total bedlam. Here's some of the news. FBI to spy on gold bugs via suspicious comments app. And if you talk on Twitter about paying for cash for coffee or anything, you're being flagged. DHS, as you know, has huge hiring programs, hiring all the spies. FEMA follows DHS in monitoring news coverage of its activities 24/7. Then they contact YouTube on record and tell them, take that video down or block it or put parental controls on it. It's critical of government. And what do the requests say? Which hurts our capability to protect you. Censor this person because it hurts our capability to protect everyone. If we don't look good in the public's eye and they know we're narcotics trafficking murderers that ship guns into Mexico and run child kidnapping rings worldwide and launder the drug money, hundreds of billions a year, everybody won't go along with us anymore. So let's start censoring them. That's a translation. Continuing, Kurt Haskell exposes government deception in underwear bomber case. That's up there. We actually got his full statement first. It ended up being picked up by the AP and others with no credit to us, of course. They gave it to us first, even right as the press conference took place. Actually gave it to us way before the press conference, said release it at this time, and we ended up releasing it after his press conference, and so some media got the jump on us. We're so trendy, we actually don't break big news when we could. We sat on it, but it doesn't even matter. The point is it's already in the featured news archive up there. Also, when technology fails, when environmentalist Matthew Stein, is actually an environmental expert because he's a design engineer from MIT. And continuing, FBI could shut down internet for thousands on March 8 to eradicate virus. That's right, they found the virus, which I'll guarantee you they launched. Evidence shows they did, just like Stuxnet, but now they're going to go out and rehack your computer and load good stuff on it. But there's a problem, then you won't be able to surf the web after March. Did you hear that? Cyber Command is going to go in and fix your computer for you. They're going to be in your computer without asking. Isn't that sweet? See how they just hide that stuff in plain view. Also, report, insider documents detail March 23rd Greek default plan, government to freeze bank accounts. That's big news at Infowars.com right now. And new implantable microchips to medicate patients. We told you that was coming. It's an Infowars.com article, and you're like, I don't believe that. Oh, really? They're going to say you're not going to be able to even get the shots. Everything will be deployed by a microchip, even if it's being injected. The microchip's there to authorize you don't abuse it. And that's also in Reuters, I should add for you. Greg Palast is coming up. Best-selling author, BBC investigative journalist, and a lot more. And, of course, I'll give you the number out after he covers some topics. We'll take your calls for him, Bob Chapman, and a lot of other people coming up today. PrisonPlanet.tv is also streaming live video of the radio show right now. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want. You know, this voice is the property, and it's even him at comic book conferences doing the voice, and the computer recognizes it, and it's not allowed to be out because they own his voice. And I mean, my point is that that's how they can shut down, and just with this new web system, and then they admit with all these filters. I haven't given the number out yet, and I got all these guests coming up. I wanted to take calls. It's just that the quickening in my soul, the quickening in my heart is so incredible. I couldn't go to sleep last night. I was up till 2 in the morning. I jumped out of bed at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm just, it's all coming down. I mean, you can feel it, you can see it, you know it, and the judgment of our world it happens all the time. 20% to 30%, depending on which estimate you look at. It's in between 20 to 30%. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, actually, the one I sent you was one where they haven't erased it yet. But then I meant, yeah, there's a bunch. Like if you do the voice of Optimus Prime or the man that does Optimus Prime, you'll see the videos on YouTube. You'll see a bunch of them. When you try to play them, it has a notice. And it says this voyage of the Cambodians were killed. U.S. government funded. Khmer Rouge was funded by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He brags about it. 22 million Germans died, separate from war. 22 million Germans died. That was what following Hitler did for them. You were going to say something, Chris?